Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Build your army decks, dominate opponents in player versus player action, collect and upgrade cards to fit your strategy, improve their power and unlock unique traits. Choose from all 40k factions, take part in campaigns based on iconic 40k battles, rise to the top of the leaderboard and win glory. Free to download and play, link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Right, welcome to this complete army video. It's for the Tyranids. It's been a good while since I've done one of these videos for my Tyranid army. I've been busily painting up some new units, completely revamped the list, and so in this video I'm going to build the whole army up, get to see all the units, gradually build up the army. We'll talk about the structure of the army, tactics for the units, tactics for the army as a whole, and just a chance to see all the different choices that I've made putting this army together. So it's 2,000 points. Chapter approved 2019 for the points levels, and we're referring to the Psychic Awakening book here as well, the Blood of Baal, for some of the abilities that are in here as well. So the army's finished. Very excited to get this Tyranid army back onto the table. Some pretty big changes from the previous lists that I've done, but hopefully as we enter this army into the Season 8 League, it will hopefully do well in the forthcoming battles. So the brand new list was proposed over on the Plus channel. So whenever I'm revamping an army, I'll propose a new list. It goes on the Plus channel first of all in an army development video. It gives a chance for the subscribers there to see the list ahead of time, make suggestions and so on, and then start painting up if any new units, which there's been a few here, including the brand new Warlord for this Tyranid force, and then I present the army here in the army complete army video, and then hopefully we'll get to see it fighting in some battles. So I always like the Tyranids. One of the early armies that are collected. If you go all the way back in the channel, there's been plenty of games of those, including a good number of Apocalypse battle reports as well. They've done okay. There were times when the Tyranids were scary on the channel, but not as much in recent times and in recent editions. But we'll see if we can turn a corner with them here and make a Tyranid army that's truly terrifying. It's the whole idea behind them, this terrifying alien race that just munches and chews on everything and destroys all in its path. We want to try and get that theme going with this Tyranid list. So the theme then for Tyranids, if you look through the artwork, firepower is a thing with these, but really it's close combat and that ability to destroy, tear apart enemies, and just this great horde of biomass heading towards you. So that's the kind of theme. I always wanted to go for that kind of theme with the Tyranids. I'd lent towards more a monster themed army in the previous list, but this time around I tried to go for a balance between there's plenty of monsters, but then just waves of Tyranid infantry as well, to try and get a sort of a classic Tyranid list put together. I would go for all out close combat, but that's not a good way to play in 8th edition. You need firepower support. Whatever army you're doing, you need some kind of firepower support. So you're going to see part of that as well for this Tyranid army. Just looking through some of the artwork here, just even with their guns, just getting close as possible to the enemy and then closing in for the kill. And really it's close combat where the Tyranids are the most frightening. And again here, fighting against the Eldar, pushing in close. That's the terrifying point, where the Tyranid horde reaches your line, where the wave breaks across your defences and then there's trouble. So that's the kind of thing I want to reflect with this new Tyranid list. Structure then, it's the need for command points now. I've gone for double battalion and battle forged, so 13 command points in total. They're -1 because I have added in a progeny of the Hive stratagem, and that's to grant some adaptive biology to one of the monsters in the list, but we'll come to that as we go along. But it's 12 command points I'm starting off with for this Tyranid force. What I'll do is I'm going to bring in the units or build up the structure of this army. We'll bring the units in, talk about each of the choices, and then I'll give you an idea of the army. And then at the end, I'll zoom out and you'll see the whole army on the board, just to give you an idea of what the whole army looks like when it's assembled together. So for updates, check out Instagram. I've been putting pictures up of the Tyranids as they've been painted up. So Striker Scorpion 82 on Instagram, and other projects leaving the painting desk, check that out. If you like the look of the Tyranids here, as you see these units, then there is the Tyranid painting tutorial. Check that out on the channel. I've used that same process for all of the units, monsters, infantry, the whole lot is covered in that video. So we'll put together 2 battalions. We'll put together the first one, and this is more of a close combat themed battalion, this one here. So we'll take it in the order of the codex here. So the first model is the Broodlord. This is the brilliant plastic version here, good size model. There he is. He's featured in vast majority of my lists here in recent times, but the Broodlord is back. I'll try and cover all the tips and strategies and the philosophy behind all of these units and the army in general. So what I'm looking for, a battalion here is going to be close combat themed, and the emphasis is going to be on Gene Stealers. I'll bring those in just a moment. You can see them just off camera there, but Gene Stealers have always been scary, so they are in. But the Broodlord is the perfect HQ to go with them. I'll call out the points values here. Broodlord, 115 points for him, and I am looking for the Hive Fleet adaptations. This battalion is going to be at Kraken here. So when a unit of this adaptation advances, roll 3 dice instead of 1 and pick the highest to add to the move characteristic of all models in the unit for that movement phase. In addition, such units can fall back and charge in the same turn. So this lends itself really well to an aggressive assault based formation here. So Broodlord, for example, he already has rules where he can advance and charge, so now when he does advance it's 3d6 picking the best. That's excellent, really suits him. And you can catch your opponent unawares of this, the ability to fall back from close combat and then charge. So recharge the same target or charge a different target is brilliant. Just need to remember myself to do that in game to pull out that maneuver. Pretty good. So suits him very well. He's got 6 wounds, he's got 6 attacks, tons of attacks, he's hitting on a 2+, fighting at strength 5. The monstrous rending claws are AP -3 as standard. D3 damage with those, and any wound rolls of 6+, it's AP -6 and damage of 3. So he's a killer. Absolute killer. He'll probably not bring down a vehicle, but he'll make short work of heavier infantry and characters. 5+ invuln save, can advance and charge. And then I've got a lot of Gene Stealers in the list, and for them, Brood Telepathy needs to be buried in amongst them and to guide in the assault with these. You can add 1 to the hit rolls in the fight phase for Hive Fleet Gene Stealer units within 6 of any Hive Fleet Broodlords. So he needs to hang around with those units as much as possible, keep within that 6-inch range, and then give him +1 to the hit rolls. So making a Gene Stealer 2+ to hit in close combat, so 3+ makes a massive difference. And on top of that, he's a Psyker as well. Can manifest 1 psychic power and attempt to deny 1. You know, smite, so you're going to get smite from him. And then I've given him, I usually go for this one, it's the Horror, because I'm thinking he's pushed up the table and maybe help out protecting his fellow units by having an impact on some enemy units. So the Horror, it's a little bonus, but the Horror has a warp charge value of 6, so quite easy to make this go off. If manifested, select a unit within 24 that is visible to the Psyker. To the start of your next psychic phase, that unit must subtract 1 from their hit rolls and leadership characteristics. So pretty good. You know, you got some tank or some infantry unit that could do a lot of damage with firepower or in close combat and give it -1 to the hit rolls. There's a little bit of a bonus. Perhaps a lot of smite's been used up already from other psychers, and then he can cast the Horror. I've used it a few times and it's been helpful enough. You know, maybe there's a guard unit that's 4+ to hit, then -1 to the hit rolls is quite significant. So just an extra power that can be used to help support the units as they move up the table. So that's it, that's the first HQ. I'm planning, if they're not live already, I'm planning to make some Tyranid Tactica videos. They may well follow after this. I'll take a deeper look with fully updated rules for a number of the key Tyranid characters or Tyranid units, and then that'll give you a more in-depth Tactica for them in each of those individual videos. But that's the idea for him. Then the next HQ, which if you follow on Instagram you know exactly what it is. It's the Swarmlord. I've always admired the plastic kit, never did get one of them from Games Workshop, so took an opportunity to go for the Swarmlord at 250 points now, and there he is. I'll make a Tactica video, you get a chance to zoom in, or again you can check out Instagram. I've done some zoomed in pictures of this model, but it's if you are a Tyranid player, then this is one of the best models in my opinion. Fantastic. Look at these sabres. He's a killer. He hasn't done anything yet because he's brand new, but hopefully he'll bring some enemies down. We'll take a look at the stats for him here, but just fantastic. I mounted him on some rocks here, so granted him like an extra ½ an inch in height just to make him that much bigger, and there's a whole load of decapitated skulls and heads here. A couple of Ultramarine heads in there from James's army. There he is. And blood. Use some blood for the blood god. Splatters everywhere as well, just to make him as menacing as possible. But a perfect warlord, I think. You're a psychological, nasty looking creature here to head up this Tyranid force. So he's cracking as well. So 3d6 choosing the best for his advanced rolls, and crucially the ability to pull back and charge as well. What a move from him. Want him to be quite, great manoeuvrability as part of his traits for this new warlord, for this Tyranid list. There he is. Difference between these two, him, the Broodlord, is 6 wounds. He can hide away. Really only snipers can go for him if you're going to screen him with other units, which should be the case. With the Swarmlord, is 12 wounds. He can be shot at, which is, got to be a bit careful with him. He can get blown away quite quickly. He does have a 3+ armor save and a 4+ invuln save, but still he could be gunned down quite quick, so I've got to be careful with him, not present him right out in the open just to get shot at. I've got to be careful. He's the warlord, so maybe he'll have to appear at just the right point and not get him destroyed too early on. But toughness 7, 12 wounds. So damage here, he moves 9 at full strength. It's movement 9, so he's nice and quick. It's strength 8, which is fantastic, and 6 attacks. Brilliant. Then he drops to 7-inch move, 5-inch move, strength 7, strength 6, which is still okay, and then 6 attacks down to 5, down to 4, which is alright. His movement down to 5, and you have to get him right down to 1 to 3 wounds remaining for him to be in that lowest bracket. So he's tough enough, but he won't survive if he's caught out by a whole lot of firepower. The range of his synapse ability is 18 inches rather than 12. 4+ invuln save. Blade parry, add 1 to his invuln save against wounds caused by melee weapons. So 3+ invuln save in close combat. I'm hoping he can take on Guilliman and stand some kind of chance. Then you've got Hive Commander, one of the key rules here. In each of your shooting phases, you can pick one friendly Hive Fleet unit within 6 inches of the Swarmlord. So I'm thinking a unit of Gene Stealers. That unit can move and advance if you wish, as if it were the movement phase instead of shooting. So you've got Gene Stealer unit that has, say the enemy's over here. You've moved and advanced, 3d6 choosing the best. And then with his ability, you can make them move and advance, 3d6 choosing the best, and still charge for the special rules for Gene Stealers. So I'm looking to get a unit of these across the board very, very, very quickly with his ability. So scary stuff from the Swarmlord. On top of all of that, he is expensive, but the abilities that he has, his potential in close combat's phenomenal. The Bone Sabers, AP -3, 3 damage, any wound roll of 6+ to this weapon. Is mortal wound in addition to any other damage, so you can cut through stuff pretty effectively. And he knows 2 psychic powers, and he can attempt to deny 2 as well. So he knows Smite, and the 2 powers I've gone for with him is, I'll just call these out to you just to give you an idea. yeah, Psychic Scream. It's a very aggressive psychic power. Its warp charge value of 5. If manifested, nearest enemy unit within 18 suffers D3 mortal wounds. In addition, if the unit is a psychic, roll 2 dice. The result is higher than their leadership characteristic. Randomly select one of their psychic powers. They can no longer use that psychic power. So pretty good. It's like another smite. So you can double smite almost if you need him to kick out a load of mortal wounds. You know, maybe he's closing down on some nasty character in close combat. You know, Psychic Scream and then smite against that character, knock off a load of mortal wounds. You know, Gilliman, for example, try and knock off some wounds that way to soften up the target before he closes in. So that's one idea. And then the other power is Paroxysm. It's warp charge value of 5. Choose an enemy unit within 18 inches of the psychic until your next psychic phase. That unit cannot fight in the fight phase until all other units are able to have done so. If the target unit has an ability that allows it to fight first in the fight phase, instead fights as if it didn't have this ability. If both players have units that cannot fight until all other units have done so, and alternate, so on and so on. So the idea of this power, if he really needs to fight first, because it's maybe against some dangerous target, or to try and protect another unit nearby it, then that's the ability to fight first, and that can prove crucial at the right point during a game. So Paroxysm as a backup psychic ability there. So the ability to kick out a nice lot of mortal wounds, and then Paroxysm as a power that's available there as well. So expensive enough, 250 and 115 points, a fair amount of points invested in HQ choices, but both of them I think are nice and potent, and I think it'd be useful for this list if used well. But they're both geared up to really help out Gene Stealers. So that's the idea for this battalion. You need 2 HQs and 3 troops to fulfill the battalion. So had old One Eye in the list, dropped him, never did too well. So he's out. But Gene Stealer's here for troops. So put these to the side. Very happy with how the Broodlord or Swarmlord has come out. I'll bring in the Gene Stealers. There's going to be a good few of these. So I've gone for 2 units of 14. Just anticipating these are going to get shot at a lot. I'm pretty used to that. A lot of Gene Stealers in the last list, and they get shot at a lot. I've tried to compensate for that. You'll see it in a moment. A workaround for trying to protect these, because the opponent knows how deadly, usually knows how deadly Gene Stealers are. So one of the ways I've tried to compensate for that is to make them quicker. So with help from him, to get a unit moved up the table super quick. Because you move up turn 1, opponent guns half of them down, and you've lost the bite from them. So I'm trying to do it so you can get maybe a turn 1 charge, at least one big unit. Try and get your money's worth, your points worth, before they're shot to pieces, because they get shot up a lot. 2 units of 14 and then a unit of 12. So it's a good representation of Gene Stealers here. Something like that. There they are, a nasty horde of them. So you can imagine, you know, him pushing forwards and he's scuttling around. So yeah, Gene Stealers, nasty unit for sure. 3 attacks each of these. Weapon skill 3+, movement 8. They can advance and charge. The High Fleet Krakens, it's 3d6 choosing the best. Nice and fast across the board. And then his ability, being able to push one of these units further ahead. Nice and quickly across the board. It's the 5+ invuln save available for them. I don't give them the extended carapace, it's just got the 5+ save, the 5+ invuln save. 3 attacks each, and then the reason why I've tipped them just over 10, and 2 units of 14, 1 unit of 12, Gene Stealers have 4 attacks instead of 3, whilst the unit has 10 or more models. So fantastic bonus, just increase the amount of attacks here. So a ridiculous amount of attacks for these. If he's nearby, they're going to be hitting on 2s to hit. Strength 4, toughness 4, and then the Rending Claws is a standard AP -1, which is great, and then 6+ to wound, which with that amount of attacks you're going to get a nice lot of 6+s to wound. It's AP -4, so they should start chewing through. Even toughness 7 vehicles, they should start ripping through them quite quickly. The key though is to try and keep their numbers up. As soon as the numbers start dropping, their potency really starts to drop off. So I need to get them into combat and keep the numbers as high as possible. So one area where I've tried to adapt for that is to, as I said earlier, to push units forwards as quick as possible, to go for that turn 1 charge with the help from him. And then the second battalion is to help these out. You'll see it later on, we'll discuss that as we bring the units up. But there's some more help on the way for these as well. But this is the bit that's part of the army that's designed to chew through targets, whether it's hordes, heavy infantry, vehicles, characters, whatever's in their way, they'll charge it and bash their way through it. That's the idea, as long as they can keep their numbers up. So Gene Stealers, 1, 2, 3 units of those, and the HQ, just like its own little mini army here, able to look after itself, supporting HQ choices and some nasty troops choices. Always been a fan of the Gene Stealers, so glad to have them back in the army. So yes, there's a fast attack choice here that I've put into this battalion, and that's Raveners. So I had the old lead ones, and then I've been painting up a few months ago the new plastic ones. So there they are, unit 6. So I'll line them up here. Always like the new plastic models, brilliant. They're a fair bit bigger than the old lead ones. So I keep the lead ones for the apocalypse battles, but that's the new unit painted up just there. Not the most popular choice for Tyranid players at the moment, but I'd still be a fan of Raveners. I think they're pretty good. Again, it's a unit you've got to be a bit careful if they can get blown away very quickly. So there may be more of a flanking type unit, or a unit you can manoeuvre around and hide and just pick on one target at a time with them. I think they'd be more effective that way. But if you push them right at the spearhead, they're going to get shot up and destroyed quite quickly. But we'll bring up their details here. So Raveners, I think they're pretty good. It's movement 12. That's one of the areas where you can catch the opponent out with these. 12-inch move, very, very quick across the board. Very, very quick. Weapon skill 3+. They got toughness 4, strength 4, 3 wounds each, 4 attacks, nice lot of attacks, and a 5-up save. I equip them with Death Spitters. Yeah. So 18 shots, a little bit of firepower here, 18 shots from them. There is a stratagem that lets you fire twice, the ability to shoot again with them. So range 24, assault 3, strength 5, and AP -1. So they can, pick off Space Marines and so on. Not too bad with their firepower. They have pay the points to rending clause. So, like Gene Stealers, AP -1. 6+ to wound is AP -4. And they can deep strike if I need them to. So I've got a deep striking ability with these, or they can join in with the main attack. But it's just like a supporting unit, bit of firepower, bit of extra in close combat. But there are units that's really, I want them to operate around the flanks, or even at the back. They can rush around picking up objectives and so on. So I think they're a useful unit to have for your army, and it's a bit more adaptive as well now. For Kraken, where they can pull back and still charge. I think it's a handy option for them as well. Yeah, so just to bring you up to speed with the points values, 150 points for them in total for the unit of 6, so it's okay points cost for them. The 2 units of 14 is 162 points, taking into account there's acid mores in those squads. And then the unit of 12 is 142 points. There's a fair amount of points investment in these, and again, like I said earlier on, I'd rather try and preserve their numbers as much as possible. So one way you can do that is to try and protect a unit or beef it up and so on, but another way is to try and distract the opponent away from the target. So the 2nd battalion will provide a bit of distraction to hopefully divert firepower away from these nastier squads. So, yeah, that is that battalion complete. So that's 1 battalion finished. I'll make a bit of room here, and then we'll bring in the 2nd battalion. So, the 2nd battalion, and you can leave your own comments and feedback. I've gone for a different Hive fleet to match the theme and some extra abilities to help this second battalion out, because it is different to this battalion here. So this is a lot of close combat ability here and nasty chewing power with these units. The second battalion is going to fulfill a different role, but it's to enhance and help this battalion out. So the two do work together, but I'm calling upon different Hive fleets here. One of the downsides of that is I've got to be aware of synapse. And I've got to make sure about abilities that grant benefits to different Hive fleet keywords as well. So for example, instinctive behaviour, unless a Hive fleet unit with this ability is within 24 inches of any friendly Hive fleet synapse unit. So the synapse unit from here can't help out the Tyranid units from the second battalion because they're from a different Hive fleet. So I've got to be aware of that. So there's not much crossover in between. So in a way, these two separate battalions need to work kind of independent from each other. So they may well be mixed together, but powers wise and abilities wise, there's not much crossover between them. But having said that's the downside. But having said that, I think the bonuses outweigh that for sure. So I think I should be okay. Just need to bear in mind these synapses need to help out these units, and then my two HQs of the other battalion need to make sure they're covering the synapse for their own units from that second battalion. So with that said, my HQ choices is a double Neurophrope. So 1 and 2, which is the second battalion. I'll cover the Hive fleet benefits in just a moment. So 5 wounds here, 5 up save, but a 3+ invuln save for these. They're characters, so I can hide them away, and usually it's at the middle of the battlefield or at the back, where these will be, just tucked away and just dishing out their psychic powers. They're quite good. They can manifest 2 psychic powers and deny 1 psychic power. So you know these 2 HQ choices, there's 4 psychic powers can come from these in a turn. So obviously smite can come from each. And then Catalyst and Onslaught for this one, and then Catalyst and Psychic Scream for this one. So Catalyst is key, so I've put it on each, just in case one of them dies. I still want access to Catalyst. The opponent's going to have to try and destroy both of these to get rid of the ability of Catalyst in the army, because it's a fantastic power. Warp charge value of 6, select for any Tyranid unit within 18. So I'm thinking perhaps I might shooty monsters, but it could be Unit Geniuses or maybe him, the Swarmlord. It's a 5+ feel no pain, which is exceptionally helpful. So Catalyst there on both of those. Then Onslaught is a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select for any Tyranid unit within 18 of the Psyker. So it's Tyranid unit, so it can affect everybody. This one. That unit cannot shoot this turn even if advanced without suffering. This unit can shoot this turn, even if it advanced without suffering any penalties to hit rolls for moving and shooting heavy weapons, or advancing and shooting assault weapons. In addition, that unit can charge, even if it advanced. So great abilities there. For my shooter units, I can help them out, just by maintaining a bit of accuracy with their firepower. This unit could advance and still shoot, and no penalty to its hit rolls, and still charge, so you know, it's a pretty useful power to have. Yeah. And I think it could help out the Swarmlord. So he moves 9. 3d6 choosing the best advance. And then with this one be allowed to charge. I believe so, yeah. So, and speed may well be the key. You can't wander around the table being shot at. So Onslaught quite crucial, that one. And then Psychic Scream's the other, which is nasty enough. Just in case he dies, I've still got a bit of potential there with Psychic Scream. So that's the idea for them. But very useful for Synapse. They're characters, they're tough enough, and then some decent psychic powers as well. Cost for those, they are 90 points each now for Chapter Approved 2019. But for what they can do, I think they're useful enough. And that fulfills the 2 HQ choices required for this second battalion. Yeah, I'll maybe bring in the rest of the units, and then I'll discuss the psychic or the abilities for the Hive fleet. I think I'll do it that way. So we'll move on. That's the 2 HQ choices. For troops, is Hormagaunts. Haven't used these for a long time in a regular list. And it is, this is going to take a while, units of 20. So I'll just pull them across like that. There's one. And then 2. And 3. 3 units of 20, 60. And this, number of reasons for this. First is the fluff side of it. I wanted the hordes of infantry. I've neglected doing that for a long time. My Tyranid army really sort of honed in on monster units, and which looks great, but then it left the army a little bit on the empty side. So I've kept nasty units, and you'll see some monsters in a moment, but trying to bulk the army out with these hordes here. So I'm not expecting too much from them, but I think they're going to be very useful. So the whole fluff side of things to bring them in for that reason, and then the tactical reason is to rush these ahead. I know they're going to get shot to bits, and that's the idea. I want them to be shot at. Morale shouldn't be an issue because of synapse, and then if the opponent's shooting at them, then it's going to divert shots away from the gene stealers, and that's the idea. So rush these ahead. If the opponent ignores these, then you can have large units of infantry crashing into their infantry units, the heavy infantry units, crucially their vehicles, and so your opponent's got to try and blow away 60 models, and whatever type of firepower it is, it's going to take a fair bit of effort to get rid of them. That means that's resources the opponent's having to use and not use them against the gene stealers. So that's one of the other mechanisms of trying to work on here, to keep these gene stealer units protected as much as possible, and that's like a distraction. Units of 20 are 100 points each, so 300 points gets all of those models, and now I've got a crazy amount of units for screening, front wave assault units here, as the more elite parts of the army close in for the kill. So that's the idea of them. Really happy to have Hormagaunts back, and again, I'm not expecting them to do too much, just to be a pain and a shield and a screen for the rest of the army, to be a distraction for the opponent. They're better than they were. There's a stratagem that gives you AP -1, so if I really want to do well in close combat, there's a key combat they've charged into, maybe some Marines that need to be brought down, I could put AP -1 on them, so it makes them a little bit more potent. Just 2 attacks each, nice and quick, so 8-inch move, and again it's 3d6 choosing the best for their advance, and if they do get into close combat they pile in and consolidate 6 inches, which is excellent. And rerolling wounds, if I keep them at 20, is very unlikely, but if I do keep them at full strength, reroll 1s to wound. But not too worried about that. They're just going to be fighting with their Scything Talons, which is 2 attacks each at 4s to hit and rerolling 1s for that weapon. But I'm not putting too much emphasis on them. I'm expecting them to get wiped out and destroyed, and the opponent can shoot them all day long, and if they're all wiped out, it's just 3 lots of 100 points. I think they're pretty much the cheapest units on the table, so no big deal. But I think it may well perform a crucial function here, just to overwhelm the opponent. Too much to deal with, and then the opponent, the Tyranid army crashes in, and that's when there's trouble. The previous list that I had, I found it in games where, just going on from last season, Tyranid army was nasty enough if it was able to get in amongst the enemy position and with enough numbers, but then started to burn out and casualties were being taken, and then its potency was lost, and then the opponent was able to tip the scale of the game around against the Tyranids and then usually wipe them out or destroy them. So I'm trying to keep the numbers right up to absorb the damage that will no doubt come their way. So that's the idea. So 3 units left to go, and they're all heavy support. You must have, it's another lesson I learned from last season with the Tyranids. It's a great idea with the Tyranids. You're adapting to the situation, and they're learning from the different battles they've taken part in, even defeats. They're adapting to become stronger next time. So I love the whole idea of developing the Tyranids and trying to make them as strong as possible. So yeah, I'm bringing the Exocrine back. So he's been out of the list for a while, but he's back in, so I think the potential for him is pretty good. So we'll tuck him in, see if he fits just in there. Nice big beast to have back in the army. Toughness 8 with this thing, 12 wounds, 3 up save. But really it's the firepower after with this thing. So there is a stratagem. It's 2 command points, but I do have a nice lot of command points here. It's pathogenic slime. Using the shooting phase, select a Tyranid monster from your army, increase the damage of its attacks by 1. It's +1 damage, it's something to bear in mind. You're getting 6 shots here, range 36, so decent enough range. To really get the best out, we need to deploy him in range of the enemy, and just the idea is he's just going to have to tank hits and survive, but need him stationary and in range immediately, and then hopefully the opponent will be too busy trying to deal with other stuff and he can just provide some firepower from the back. But strength 7, these shots, heavy 6, strength 7, AP -3 and 2 damage, or 3 damage with that stratagem, if I'm going to go after vehicles and so on. Symbiotic targeting, if this model does not move in its movement phase, as I'm saying, it's quite crucial you try and get him into a decent position. Add 1 to the hit rolls, so it's going to have 3s to hit, but he's not allowed to charge. And then weapons beast, if he doesn't move, again, if he doesn't move, then you can shoot twice. A potential 12 shots coming through with the Exocrine. Decent firepower. Yeah, really good. So his main ability is going to be going after light vehicles and heavy infantry. Yep, and other monsters. And then if he needs to, vehicles. Just at strength 7, you know, if he's up against maybe a Leman Russ at toughness 8, he's going to struggle to get those wounds. So really it's lighter vehicles, you know, toughness 6, and so on. And then heavy infantry, so like Primaris targets, for example. But I think it'd be useful enough. And firing twice, you can fire 6 shots at one target, 6 shots at another. Then I've also given some adaptive biology to him, just a bit of an experimentation here. So see what you think of this. There's all different options, so many options to go for, but I'm going to try this one out. So it is, yeah, adaptive physiology. So 13 command points down to 12. Pay a command point here for Progeny of the Hive. You can select 1 infantry or monster you model from your army that does not have adaptive physiology, and you select one of these from here. So what I've gone for is Voracious Ammunition. At the end of your shooting phase, select 1 enemy unit that had 1 or more models destroyed this phase as a result of an attack made by this model. So it's quite likely he's going after heavy infantry, selects a unit of intercessors, he shot at them and he's killed 1 or 2 models. Then at the end of the shooting phase, that unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. If he shoots twice and selects different targets, then that's 2 units that are going to take D3 mortal wounds. I think that's pretty good. And those mortal wounds, if he's going against heavier targets and more expensive enemy units, then the wounds being caused are pretty good. You know, it's being done against decent enemy units. So just add a little bit more punch to that. It's nasty enough. So it's a bit of an experimentation with the Voracious Ammunition. So that's the idea of him. Then I'll create a bit more space. Yeah. It's always a good sign when you're struggling to fit the Tyranid army on the screen. So this is a good sign. So here's this one. Here, the Tyranids, and then literally a short time ago finished painting up a second one. So I've got 2. I've always wanted to have 2. It'd be great for our Apocalypse games, but 2 of these for this list. Now I've got some real weapons beasts on the table. There's other options you can go for. Hive Guard, I think people have been saying, but I've gone for 2 of these. And their specific role is to deal with enemy heavy targets, so super heavies and heavy tanks and so on. You know, the Leman Russ, for example, this is what these are designed to take on. Again, the key for these is to position them at the back, but in range and in line of sight of targets. They don't have to move. So maybe great for holding objectives as well. I can plant them on top of objectives, and they can sit there just lending their firepower support, and that's all they're required to do. So ideally, I don't want to be moving them during the game. They're just to sit there and to blast away with their guns. So Exocrine is 155 points for him. These now come in with Stinger salvos and the rupture cannons, 194 points each, just below 200. They are quite expensive, but for that you're getting a pretty nasty model here. 14 wounds each. So, you know, there's 28 wounds the opponents try and get through there. Toughness 8 on them, a 3-up save. They're tough enough, but it's mainly the firepower. The rupture cannon then, range 48, fantastic range. Heavy 3, so there's no D3 shots, and I'm getting 3 shots every time with these when they shoot. Strength 10, so you know, even a Lehman Russ, even a Lehman Russ with some psychic shenanigans going on, bumped up to toughness 9. Still got 3s to wound. Baneblade still 3s to wound. So strength 10 is fantastic. AP minus 3 is going to bite off a nice chunk from the armour, and unlikely the opponent's going to block the shots from coming through, and the damage is D6. So yeah, 3 shots needing 4s. They could all miss or they could all hit, and so I think turn after turn they could potentially reap a heavy toll if they're left alone. The idea is the rest of the army is such a distraction that these are just left to fire away. Now, what's key here, if they do move, there's no penalty to their moving and firing heavy weapons. That's useful enough if they do need to relocate or just reposition slightly to get in line of sight. And then weapons beast, if they don't move, they get to fire twice. So 6 shots from each of these, and at different targets. You know, fire at one target, fire at a different target, and the next one, fire at one target, fire at a different target, or gang up and fire all their shots. But that's 12 shots now. If they don't move, 12 shots guaranteed to come from these at strength 10, minus 3 and D6 damage. I think is excellent. I really think it's very, very useful, and specifically armor punching abilities. So the opponent's buried some decent tank behind screens of infantry. I can get to it now with some long range nasty firepower. And if the opponent does want to go into a long range firepower exchange against these, it's going to take a while to grind them down, and then in the meanwhile all of their slots closing in for the kill, so it creates hopefully a bit of a conundrum the opponent struggle to deal with. That's the idea. And I need units at the back anyway to hold objectives, so that's their job. Neurophropes nearby, at least one of them, from a synapse, and then granting things like catalyst and so on, just to try and help these out as much as possible. So I've covered up pretty much everything here. We'll talk about the Hive Fleet options now for the 2nd Battalion. So I've gone to the Psychic Awakening Blood of Baal book here for my Hive Fleet adaptions. It says here, Codex Tyranids describes how the Hive Fleet keyword can be substituted with the name of your chosen Hive Fleet. So you're sort of making a customised. You've got the ones that are available in the book, or you can make up your own, and you get some rules here that you can choose. So, as well as describing the abilities that units in Tyranids attachments gain. One of these abilities is Hive Fleet adaptions. If your chosen Hive Fleet does not have an associated Hive Fleet adaptation in Codex Tyranids, you can create its Hive Fleet adaptation by selecting 2 different rules from the following list. So you get 2 from here, and you know, it's all open to experimentation and adaptation as time goes on, but the 2 that I've gone for is Biosphere Consumption. The whole emphasis for these powers is to help out these here. I want these to survive and last as long as possible, so anything and everything can help them. Hormagaunts, I'm not too worried about what happens with them. They're probably going to die very quick, and so I'll sort of be wasting giving them really good powers. So all the emphasis for this battalion is to help out these, and it's sort of specialised battalion for my monsters, because I know they're going to get shot at. So Biosphere Consumption, I think it fits these quite well. When a monster model with this adaptation would lose a wound, if that model's unit did not move during your last movement phase, these units I want to keep still. If they didn't move, and there's no enemy units within an inch, and again, shouldn't be usually because they're at the back, away from close combat. So if they fulfill that criteria, then it's a 6+ feel no pain, and that is exceptionally useful. I know how useful it is for my Drukhari. The 6+ Feel No Pain is amazingly helpful. It's way more helpful than what you think. You take, it's 14 wounds, so you take 10 wounds from something, some horrific amount of shooting comes through. You roll 10 dice and you get 4 6s, and all of a sudden 10 wounds is just 6 wounds, and it makes a massive difference to keeping these alive. So biosphere consumption, and it should be able to fulfill the parameters here for that. Remaining stationary and staying out of combat. So I like that one. And then to help them out even more, metamorphic regrowth. Model this adaptation regains 1 lost wound at the start of your turn. So they've taken some damage, just regaining wounds all the time. And I know that from my Thousand Suns army with the Mauler Fiends, the Infernal Regeneration, automatically regaining a wound every turn really helps out. And so with these, if they survive towards the end of a game, they're just regaining their wounds, building themselves up, getting them back into better brackets on the damage chart as well. So that's the whole emphasis, is to help out the monsters as much as possible. Obviously there's a stratagem as well. 2 command points, you can regain D3 wounds, but that's quite costly, so I'm trying to find more of a natural way of regaining those wounds and try and keep these alive for as long as possible. If I'm up against a very firepower heavy army and these are dying very quickly, it's not too good. I'd rather these hang around for as long as possible. And they've got an important job. If they neutralise heavy guns and the coast is clear, then he can run around and cause trouble. The Swarm Lord can run about and not worry so much about incoming firepower because they've dealt with targets from long range, so that's a bonus as well. So different Hive fleets, there's a bit of crossover I've got to be aware of for Synapse and so on, but there is also a very close relationship going on between these two. They're designed to support each other as much as possible. They need each other. This real dependency on each other. Crucial firepower support here. It's crucial screening here with the Hormagaunts, and then the chewy ability here with the nasty Gene Stealers, Raveners, Swarm Lord and Broodlords. That's the idea behind this list, and I think really if you look at it, it's quite a fair sort of mix of units, and I'm hoping, and I think quite a good reflection of what the Tyranids are all about. Hordes of infantry, weapons beasts, and then nasty close combat units as well. So according to my calculations, I think that's 2,000 points on the nose. I've called out the points values for all of these. I'll recap them for you, just if you're thinking of copying this list. 115 points for the Broodlord. Swarm Lord fixed at 250 points. Psychic Scream, Paroxysm is his psychic powers. The Warlord trait for him, by the way. Here's the Warlord, and forgot to cover that. And again, I could experiment with all of this, but I am going to stick with the standard Warlord trait that he gets. You haven't got a choice, but I'll keep him as the Warlord. I think just fluff-wise for this list, he needs to be the main man. And his power is Alien Cunning, it's called. Yeah, I think it's quite cool, and it fits in with the theme of him and his deceptive, cunning ability. He's able to pull out of combat and charge a different target or the same target. Well, this one matches in quite nicely. Alien Cunning, at the start of the first battle round, before the first turn begins, you can remove your Warlord from the battlefield and set him up again. It's a roll-off if players have the same ability. So, I'm hoping to go first in a particular mission. I've deployed him right at the very front, and the opponent's reacted to that with his deployment. I do get to go first, that's great, off he goes, or I don't get to go first, I can just do a quick redeploy and hide him somewhere. So I like the idea of that tactically. I think it's pretty good, and that adds to the character of this model as well. He's got some certain traits that he's known for. And he does have a name as well. He's been named already, so in Imperial records he's known as the Decapitator. The full title is the Decapitator, Decimator of Mankind. So he's got a real bee in his bonnet for Imperial armies. And part of the theme is he's on the hunt for Guilliman and Guilliman's head to add to his collection of heads that's on his base. So it's got a nice theme going on. I'm looking forward to the day when he gets to clash with the Ultramarines and sever every head on the board, and then the last head to roll will be Guilliman's, and then I can glue it to his base maybe if James lets me. I doubt he will, but we'll give it a go. But that'll be great to see him finally clash with Guilliman on the battlefield. So that's a nice theme, I think, going for these. But Alien Cunning is his Warlord trait. So that completes the list. I'll continue running through the points here. So 250 for him, and 162 for the 2 units of 14 Genestealers, 142 for the unit of 12, 150 points for the Raveners with their Death Spitters and Rending Claws for them, and then Neurophropes, 2 units of them at 90 points, 100 points each for the units of 20 Hormagaunts, 155 points for the Exocrine, and the 2 Tyrannofex models, 194 points each for those with Rupture Cannons and Stinger Salvos for them as well. The adaptive physiology here is on the Exocrine. As enemy units that take casualties, it's D3 mortal wounds at the end of the shooting phase for them. Yeah, and then just to mention one thing, I haven't covered Relic. You get 1 Relic for free. The one that I'm thinking of going for is one of the new ones from the Psychic Awakening book. It's Resonance Barb. Going to put it onto the Broodlord because it's quite annoying that he only gets to manifest 1 psychic power. So this one here, Psycho model only. A model of this relic can attempt to manifest an additional psychic power in your psychic phase and attempt to deny 1 additional psychic power in your opponent's psychic phase. So that's excellent. And on top of that, in addition, when a psychic test is taken for a model with this relic, it's +1 to the total as well. So very useful. He knows the horror, so he'll be able to manifest the horror and then smite as well. And it's +1 to those rolls also. So I think that's an excellent relic to take. So that's the one I'm going to put onto the Broodlord to help him out as much as possible. But that's the list. I'm going to zoom out now and I'll line the army up and you get a chance to see the whole army put together. Right, so there's the army here, just squeezing them in to get them onto the board, but it gives you a pretty good idea of how this army looks. So just the 2 battalions then. There's the chewy one here to chew through whatever's in front of them. That's the Genestealer emphasis here, so 1, 2, 3 units of those. And then the HQs to match in with them nicely. The Swarmlord here, just to help get these into combat quicker. And then the Broodlord to guide them in, to give them some bonuses. Decent psychic power support and nasty in close combat as well. Ravenous for a bit of speedy help as well, a bit of firepower, a bit of deep strike ability as well. And the 2nd battalion, the real emphasis on the monsters lending their firepower support. The 2 Tyrannofexes with their Rupture Cannons at the back. The Exocrine as well, decent firepower available from him. And then the 2 units of 20, just a really, imagine the army without those, start to look a bit on the small side, so a real horde being added in here. 3 units of 20 Hormagaunts to provide a vital shield and distraction to push up aggressively towards the enemy lines as well. So 2 Neurophropes as well for some decent psychic power support, and pretty solid Synapse as well. Just Synapse isn't too bad now for Tyranids. The negative effects of it used to be a lot worse in previous codexes and editions, but it's not too bad now. Pretty good coverage for Synapse for this list. But there it is, that's the brand new list for the Tyranids. Leave your own comments, how well do you think this list will do? If you had to face this list with the army that you have, how well do you think you perform against it? You can suggest changes and corrections, units you'd drop, units you'd add in, changing the structure around, talk about stratagems and so on. If you're an experienced Tyranid player, then by all means leave your own comments and feedback. And if you're new to collecting Tyranids, or you haven't collected them before, then check out the comments to see what other subscribers are saying, what works well for the Tyranids. But check out Instagram, you can follow me on there and see the different units as they're painted up for all the factions. Check out the painting tutorial. If you like the look of these Tyranids, then I'll show you exactly the whole process, including all the basing and so on, is covered in that video. And then for more content, check out the Plus channel as well. But there it is, that is the brand new list for the Tyranids. Keep a lookout for them in action, hopefully soon, on the channel. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.